Welcome to the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions. Today is midweek Wednesday, the 26th day in the month of August. And a very good morning to you. My name is Chioma Nkwanta. Today on the platform is a special edition. We're having a civil military relations radio show. That's what it is today. And a virtual accountability forum on civil military relations. Now, today on the program, we're looking at civil military relations and human rights during the heat of the COVID-19 pandemic. We want to actually commend officers of the Nigerian Armed Forces for their sacrifices and hard work to defend Nigeria and secure citizens, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. But in the course of her civil military relations project in Nigeria, a foundation, Clean Foundation, has engaged with the Nigerian Army Human Rights Desk, and they are also commending the Nigerian Army's tremendous work with regards to holding her personnel accountable for rights violations. Now, various human rights violations have been perpetrated by some members of the security and law enforcement who are charged with the responsibility of protecting the lives and properties of citizens during the pandemic. Now, the situation is appalling and it sends a bad impression to the citizens and the international community. The Nigerian Army Human Rights Desk is saddled with the responsibility to investigate allegations of human rights abuses perpetrated by the Nigerian military personnel. And the desk also works to strengthen the Army's capacity to protect human rights and report on the progress. Now, in view of this, Clean Foundation, in collaboration with National Human Rights Commission and the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution, is here today to discuss so many things. But then the topic for today is civil military relations and human rights during the heat of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, this program is expected to have representatives from all walks, so I'll just go straight to it. We have the PRO of the Nigerian Police Force, SP Jeffrey Ogbonna. Good morning to you once again, sir, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
We also have Barrister Uche Nwokocha. She is the State Coordinator, National Human Rights Commission, Abia State.
Good morning, listeners. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, ma'am. And we have Comrade Nelson Nnanawafo. He's a member of the Foundation for Environmental Rights Advocacy and Development Project, FENRAD, and a civil society human rights group as well. Good morning, sir.
Thank you for having me, my sister. Thank you.
And we also have Route Commander CC Iruapali, Public Relations Officer for the Federal Road Safety Corps, Abia State. Good morning to you, sir, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning to you, ma'am, and good morning to the listening public.
All right, so the house is full. The house is complete. We're looking at civil military relations and human rights during the heat of the COVID-19 pandemic. As regards COVID-19, when we say the heat of COVID-19 pandemic, from the month of March to the month of June, it was the heat of the COVID-19 pandemic, and a whole lot of things went down in Nigeria. So we're looking at the relations, civil military relations and human rights during the heat of COVID-19 pandemic. Let's get straight to it. We'll start with the Human Rights Commission. During the heat of the COVID-19 pandemic, what was the relationship between the military and other security agencies and the civilians?
You see, the COVID-19 experience is a novel one. We've never had such before in the country. It's not just in Nigeria, all over the world. And during pandemics like COVID-19, law enforcement agencies are responsible for working with government and public health officials to contain spread, serve the local community, and maintain public order. Given the person-to-person spread of COVID-19 through respiratory droplets, law enforcement officers are also at a heightened risk of exposure during their close contact with members of the public. To protect officers while controlling the people and enforcing some of the COVID-19 protocol, it brought a confusion, particularly on the side of the officers and on the public too. It was a very, very serious confusion. These are officers who are used to dealing with criminal matters and quasi-civil matters. But then, it's difficult for them. They are confused. They don't know whether people who are breaching the protocol of COVID-19, whether to regard them as criminals or to regard them as civil offenders. There was that confusion. That confusion you notice initially when this lockdown enforcement started. Within 2 weeks of it, law enforcement officers have killed more people in Nigeria than COVID-19, and everybody was shouting. National Human Rights Commission, we attribute this to ill equipment of our law enforcement officers. I keep telling people, anytime you invite our armed law enforcement officers to control a crowd, you are inviting them. They will come there and they will start shooting. Before you know it, bodies will be lying down, people will be injured. Primarily first, because they are not equipped for it.
Okay.
Other gadgets that other international, countries, foreign countries have, that help them to quell riots, help them to control people, help them to enforce laws, certain, quasi laws, and protect themselves at the same time. Our law enforcement agents don't have them. They only have tear gas, their baton, and then the lethal weapon they use. So when this COVID-19 thing started, and the people are asked to stay home, and people are miling around, and then you call in the law enforcement agents to come and disperse them, or ask them to leave, or call them to order, and the weapon they have is AK-47, the tear gas, and then the truncheons they carry about. Now, if the people are being unruly like people are supposed to, that is the strangest thing about us. We expect people to obey the rules, but if you are into human psychology, you actually expect people to disobey rules. It's because we expect people to disobey rules and regulations, that's why we have law enforcement agents. So always expect people to disobey.
Okay.
But instead of expecting people to disobey, somehow both the federal government and the state government and even individuals thought that once people are told COVID-19 will kill you, everybody will stay at home, everybody will wear face mask, everybody will maintain social distance. But it doesn't work like that. And then we have law enforcement agencies that are not equipped with the kind of weapon, instrument that is needed for such enforcement.
So can we?
And that is why we have the kind of bloodshed and bloodbath we had initially in that COVID-19
Okay,
lockdown.
so can we rightly say that initially during the COVID-19 lockdown, there was no cordial relationship between civilians and the security agencies?
There's never been any cordial, I will tell you the truth, there's never been any cordial relationship between the civilians and security agencies in Nigeria. There seems to be a battle between them, and that is why all the security agencies are working very hard to ensure that this battle line is kind of minimized, that these two people start acting together and see each other as people that have the same interest. Because the civilians should see the law enforcement agents are people who are there to protect them from criminals and criminal activities. But instead of seeing the law enforcement agents in that light, most civilians see law enforcement agents as part of the criminal gangs themselves, and this is not right. That is what everybody is working on. For instance, the police is doing so well. They're introducing the community policing. They're recruiting more police constables, so that people from their locality will be in charge of the security in the locality. And then with that, there will be a good relationship established between the two.
Let's go to SP Jeffrey Ogbonna, the PR, Public Relations Officer of the Nigerian Police Force in Abia State. Let's start with the relationship between civilians and security agencies. You heard from the Human Rights Commission, there has never been a cordial relationship. Are you going to agree to this?
I partially disagree with her because I know there is no how we can excel in our activities without the partnership or cooperation of the members of the civil populace. Since we cannot do it all and we cannot be everywhere, it is the civil populace or the civilians that help us with vital information that has helped us to ensure that Abia is what it is today. Abia is being rated as one of the most peaceful states in the country. So if I should say now that there is no cordial relationship between us and the civil populace, it then means I am not appreciative of all the good things they have been doing for us. Just take for instance yesterday when I marked my birthday anniversary, I received a lot of calls and even gifts from members of the populace. If there is no existing cordial relationship between I as a police officer and those people, I don't think such things would have come my way. I am not from this state, but most of the people that did all those things are the people I have encountered in the course of my policing in Abia State.
Okay.
So I believe just as people are doing to the police, I believe they also do it. But we know that there must be miscreants in any society. And because no society is complete if there are no miscreants. So when you talk of that civil military relationship, those people who are miscreants will not like to partner the police. They will see us as enemies. Just as when we see people who we know are criminals, we will definitely have to arrest them and make them to face the wrath of the law.
Okay. Was the COVID-19 protocols duly enforced diligently by men of the Nigerian Police Force?
Yes. Just as she said, when this lockdown started newly, because of what I would say lack of sensitization amongst the civil populace, our people were seeing the police or other security agencies who were beckoning on them to obey the COVID-19 protocol as enemies. You see some people, because they don't have the opportunity of going about, having that full freedom, because I know there were restrictions. Since they weren't having that full freedom, whoever that might come across to say, obey or adhere strictly to the provisions or the guidelines of the COVID-19, they start seeing us as enemies. But when they now realize that COVID-19 is not person's friend, they know that themselves are targets, that even ourselves were targets. And that is why you see us. As soon as this COVID-19 came on board and there was this issue of lockdown and other protocols, the Inspector General of Police came up with his own directives that every police officer must arm him or herself with face mask, coupled with the face shield and other things, keeping distance. If you get to our police headquarters, you will see that we are really trying to observe the COVID-19 protocol, because the COVID-19 doesn't respect any person. I, as a police officer, I cannot say I have strength over COVID-19. So all it requires is for me to adhere strictly to the rules and impart similar instructions to members of the public. I have said it severally here during my programs that people should adhere strictly to the COVID-19 protocol in order to save their lives. Because police, for one, as a security agency, our core duty is to protect lives and property. If there are no lives If there are no people standing, who are we going to police?
Okay.
So that is why it behoves on us to ensure that the COVID-19 protocol is being observed to the letter. Recently, when we embarked, because when it started, there was no provision of the law where we can say people can be charged. But just recently, with the provisions made by the state government, we have been able to get some people arrested, people who are defaulting, get them arrested and arraign them in the courts.
Okay.
Yes, and the courts, in the courts, they were made to pay one fine or the other.
All right. So, SP Jeffrey, we will come back to you, but then to the Public Relations Officer of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Route Commander CC Irapali. The Federal Road Safety Corps, we observed that they were always on the road, most especially during the heat of the COVID-19 pandemic. So, can we rightly say that they actually enforced all that they were supposed to do to the latter?
Well, thank you very much. During the COVID-19 period, we put a lot of effort in tackling this pandemic. Thank you very much for that commendation. During the COVID period, we worked like, I don't know how to put it, from morning till night. We increased the number of times we operate on the road. And if you look at it, Road Safety 2 was at the forefront of tackling this global health challenge. We made sure that our men were posted to every point, controlling traffic. And if you notice, we reduced in the area of enforcement. We focused on safety, we focused on rescue services, and during that period, we also focus on sensitization. I will not really say that we did not carry out enforcement during the COVID-19 period. We did, but it was it was mild. So we looked at saving lives, and we looked at sensitizing the people during that COVID-19 period. So
what about in situations of motorists not adhering to the guidelines of the number of passengers and using nose mask and all of that?
Yes, thank you very much. That one, we looked at it, and we found out that even when the COVID-19 was still active and people were still violating the rules, so during that period, that was when the Corps Marshal now instructed us that, see, if you people leave this COVID-19 operation for only sensitization and rescue services, that means the people, they are not going to do much about reducing it. So that was how we now came. There was a task force during that period. I worked with the police, I worked with the SSS, I worked with the Homeland Security. Then we made sure that every protocols was observed. And during that COVID-19 period, nationwide, I can tell you that a number of 396 vehicles conveying over 2,500 passengers were arrested. 343 were impounded, and 63 vehicles arrested for overloading.
Okay.
So we started that time to encourage them. If you don't put on your face guard, and your passengers, they are not putting on we equally, but it depends on your discretion though. But most times we arrest, and we focus on enlightenment.
Okay. Thank God we have law enforcement agents here in the building. So the question is the law enforcement agency, are they ill-equipped?
Well, the point is that there is more to do about equipping the law enforcement agencies.
Okay.
Like when we started, we did not wait for anybody to equip us, or we don't run to anybody to say, we made it. As you can see, I have my my nose mask. So we made it compulsory that you need to protect yourself. Do you understand? Before you start moving on to the road to carry out your activities. So we made it mandatory for every patrol vehicle, every personnel to have their hand sanitizers. You have your nose guard with you, because we come in contact with people every time. So, and we also most times when we went for the COVID-19 operation. I can remember vividly there was a time we were given hand sanitizers and the face guard by the state government. And there was a time too they issued to road users.
Okay.
But there is still more to do
All right.
about that.
So the police force, is the Nigerian police force ill-equipped?
Well, generally, I have to tell you that when you compare Nigeria police with the police in US or in other countries, I would submit that Nigeria police is ill-equipped. So, because overseas there, you see that every police officer is entitled to all the necessary things. If not for any other thing, you see a policeman that is assigned to a particular beat will have a vehicle attached to that beat, which is not obtainable here in our country, Nigeria. And not every police officer I know that has or bears arm, such that anywhere you go in, anywhere you are, you be armed. You can take it home. There isn't that need of you going for arms only to notice that the arms available have been booked by those that came before you. So if in a particular station or division that has the strength of up to 100 policemen, there should be up to that number of arms or even more. So when you check or you compare with Nigeria, it is not so. I know that even there are other logistics, because I know when we're talking of being ill-equipped, it has to do with having enough logistics. We don't really have enough of it here in our in our country, down to Abia State in particular, where I am their PRO.
Okay. All right. This is the platform, a special edition here on Flow 94.9 FM Umahia. We are looking at civil-military relations and human rights during the heat of the COVID-19 pandemic. I have with me SP Jeffrey Ogbonna, PRO of the Nigerian Police Force. I have Barrister Uche Nwokocha, State Coordinator, Human Rights Commission, Abia State. I also have Route Commander CC Rapali, Public Relations Officer of the Federal Road Safety Corps. And I have Comrade Nelson Nnanawafo, a member of the Foundation for Environmental Rights Advocacy and Development, FENRAD. So we're going to look at human rights violation. Barrister Okocha, during the pandemic, during the heat of the pandemic, there were reports of a lot of human rights violation from our security agencies. How did the Commission actually handle this?
I must say that it was a very difficult situation. Very, very difficult. Difficult in the sense that it was very difficult for the law enforcement agencies to accept that they are doing something wrong. They believe they are doing things that they are working to the best of their ability. Those of them that I accosted and challenged, they were trying to tell me that Abia State people are exceptionally very, very stubborn and they need a strong hand and that kind of thing. I do not agree with them. There was a lot of human rights abuses. There were a lot of extortions. Of course, we talked about the unnecessary shooting and killing of people. All these things, it was, like I said, it was a serious burden to National Human Rights Commission. It was a serious burden. It was a very, very serious burden. Okay. We were crying, we were shouting. We were on the radio. I was here pleading with people. At a point I said, I started telling the public, please stay away from these people. You may think you have your human rights. You may think you have your fundamental human rights. But human rights are for the living, not for dead people. I pleaded with them, stay away, stay away, stay away. A lot of things happened. Most of those killings and those attacks unprovoked. We all witnessed it. And the good thing about it is that the police command acknowledged it. They acknowledged it, okay, even at the federal level. And they took some steps about it because they felt that the man in charge then was not doing what he was supposed to do. Because if he was, most of those things that happened couldn't have happened. He may not be directly responsible, but when you are in charge of a place, anything that happens in that place you are blamed for it.
Yes.
Yes, because you are supposed to be the alpha of that place. Whether you are there, whether you are not there, if anything happens in any place within your command, you are blamed for it.
All right.
So it's not as if to say that it's only National Human Rights Commission that saw it. It's not as if to say it's only National Human Rights Commission that spoke about it. Everybody did. It was agog in the media, both print, and the social media. It was everywhere. It was very, very embarrassing. Like I said, it was a very difficult situation.
Okay. All right. We'll go for a very quick break. Don't forget that the platform is on a special edition. When we come back, we'll get the reaction from our security agencies right here with me in the studio. Don't go anywhere.
At Flow 94.9 FM, we've got conducive and well-secured environment for business. High-tech video studio, a state-of-the-art production studio. You can also listen live on www.flow949fm.com and watch our videos on YouTube at Flow FM TV. Flow 94.9 FM, not just radio, but a complete broadcasting house.
Well, thank you for being there. Yes, the platform continues. Today is a special edition, Civil Military Relations and Human Rights during the heat of the COVID-19 pandemic is what we are looking at today. And before we went on that break, Barrister Uche Nwokocha, the State Coordinator of National Human Rights Commission, was telling us about human rights violations and the whole situation. But then while we were on break, the SP asked the question, was it because the people's rights that were violated, was it because they were not putting on face masks and observing all the COVID-19 protocols, or what exactly led to the violations of their rights?
I think they are all linked.
Okay.
I think they are all linked. Take, for instance, the shooting by the civil defense officer. The civil defense officer was there because all security officers were asked to be on the road, do whatever they can to ensure that the COVID-19 protocols were obeyed. If that was not said, that civil defense officer wouldn't have been there in the first place. And he was new there. That is, their being there was new. The driver knew the people he normally stopped for, that it was the police. So when the civil defense officers tried to stop him, he moved and stopped at the police, at the police checkpoint.
Okay.
And while he was discussing with the police, according to the passenger in the vehicle, the civil defense officer came, for reasons that nobody will understand, bullets started flying. So they are all linked. The ones in Aba, the one involving a keke rider, it was because, of course, the keke rider was doing some business when he shouldn't be doing it. It was still breach of COVID-19 protocol. They are all linked to it. They are all linked to it. Okay. So, yes, like I said, this happened within the first 2 weeks of that lockdown.
Yes.
There was a lot of confusion. The information is confusing. The people don't even know why they should be wearing a face mask, or maintaining a physical distance, or not go to their shop, and that kind of thing, like I said. But I still believe, the commission still believe that those killings would have been avoided if the police and other security agencies were properly equipped to handle such riotous situation. Like if they had rubber bullets, if they have water spray trucks, like we see other police in other places have, or even if they themselves are protected, because they also need to protect themselves. If they had all these things, probably those killings wouldn't have happened. Most of them wouldn't have happened. If the people become rioters, of course you shoot them with rubber bullets. If they become very, very unruly, you get your water spray truck and you start spraying water on them, both very cold water or very hot water, whichever one, and people will disperse.
Okay.
SP, I think that is the main thing.
SP Jeffrey?
Yes. I would say that apart from the ones, she has just mentioned, we cannot just make that generalization that most of the killings were attributed to the COVID-19 lockdown or whatever. I would say it's a coincidence. Like I said earlier, that people, because they weren't having their full freedom, whoever that comes across, maybe to limit them, to remind them that you ought not to do this, might be seen as enemy. And like she pointed out, of course, if there are other things like that rubber bullets that were given to the people who were enforcing the COVID-19 observing that duty or what, so they would have used rubber bullets which might only maim instead of killing, or the water spray. All right. So since we don't have all those things, and you cannot just say because you are going to the road to enforce COVID-19 protocol that you lose sight of the fact that some criminals can also cash in on that your situation to strike. You the police officers may even turn out, or the security agencies may turn out to be their victims. So wherever you are, I know that people who were sent on that assignment were not all armed. So there must be some people who were armed. And it still behoves on us and other security agencies that will continue to train and retrain our people on when and how to use our firearms.
All right. Let's open the phone lines quickly. The numbers to call 0808 1826 949 or 0811 6052 949. If you have any contribution, if you have any remark as regards what we're discussing this morning, civil military relations and human rights during the heat of the COVID-19 pandemic, do well to call us. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you. What's your name?
Ugonna Eric.
All right.
Omodia Olokoro.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you. First of all, I am so much glad that your station came up with such a topic where we will have the opportunity to discuss civil military relations. I hope it becomes a very frequent experience and occurrence. Because if we aggregate the killings that has occurred in this state alone over the past few months, you will be wondering whether we are at war. At the slightest provocation or at the slightest misdemeanor, these armed persons are too happy to pull the trigger. And I wonder, I ask, do they really realize that it's humans they are pointing guns at? Are there no better ways we can handle security without pulling triggers?
Please wrap up your thoughts.
So please, I am trying to say that let us find a way where the military, the police, the civil defense, and the civil populace can interact freely, relate freely, have parties together, have teachings, instructions, even there in that, I don't know whether there's a military personnel there. So let us relate with ourselves as humans.
Okay.
And avoid this excessive use of force so that we can avoid avoidable killing of lives and spilling of blood.
All
it
right.
does not speak well of our nation.
Thank you.
And I think we can better the society by so doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. What's your name?
That's my name. Thank you for assembling such men that matters in the society, particularly the police. They will face a lot during this COVID-19. And like I said, the woman in the civil liberty said, they say urgent place is the easiest place where they have to use the excessive force. You want to understand that word. It seems to me that the Nigerian police that are sent out here say they were sent to come and kill our people. In the slightest mistake, not even mistake, people that are harmless, the next thing you see that if I kill you, you say not only to dismiss me.
Please wrap up
and
your
before
thoughts.
you know it, they will just kill. What am I trying to say? That the police should sensitize their people, educate them At times we begin to wonder, is it the same school that have run? The same, I'm sorry to use the word illiterate, people that were sent on the road to go and kill. Please, the police
Thank
should
you.
mind the people they send on the road. When you made a report, they won't do anything.
Okay.
Let me tell you one thing that happened in this Hitchman. You see
Please
them
wrap
carry
up your
car.
thoughts.
You told the police, when they arrested, you have police hot warrant. Yes, you see somebody that have gun, you say you should have arrested that person. What type of civilization, what type of human being do we have?
Thank you.
Yes, police
Thank you.
should know their.
Good morning.
Well, good morning.
Good morning to you. What's your name?
My name is Mr. Jonathan, calling you from Omaya.
All right, you're welcome.
I want to give my contribution concerning the issues that is
All right, hurry up with it.
civilian military relationship during this COVID era. In my own opinion, I don't think it has been a very cordial relationship between the military and the civilian. Because we have noticed some people who are in the military, that's a mere provocation. It is very at least our military personnel or those uniform people, do the prayer as a very slight provocation called for, something that should be taken care of.
Okay.
You see, but I noticed in some places where some people have been killed by the fact that they were not wearing their face mask. And instead of, trying to fight other, they start killing them.
Please
And there
wrap
have
up your
been
thoughts.
insecurity here and there.
Okay.
They need to be given more training so that they will know their modus operandi, their work. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Well, my guest is going to be answering all of this and reacting to these contributions while they give their closing remarks. So let's start with SB Jeffrey.
Thank you so much. Just I said before that the Nigeria police is working assiduously to ensure that there is continuous training and retraining of their personnel
Okay.
in the areas of handling firearms. The Inspector General of Police on board had to modify the what we call Force Order 237, which educates the police on when and how you can use your firearm so that you can be justified. So that you can be justified. Not that on the slightest provocation you pull your trigger. That is not inclusive in that Force Order 237. And that is why whoever that is caught up in such act is always shown the way out of the job and taken to court. Like you may want to know, the recent incident that happened in Aba, the policeman involved, even though the incident had nothing to do with COVID-19 protocol, as I am speaking with you, is no longer a police officer and he is cooling off in one of the prisons in Abia State.
All right, thank you. Route Commander CC Rapali, your reactions and final remark on today's program.
Well, thank you very much. Briefly, I'll just use this opportunity to commend you. Another media houses have been contributing a lot, but a very quick one for the public is not for only us. All hands must be on deck to ensure the COVID-19 is real. It's quite unfortunate that a friend of mine equally died as a result of this COVID-19, so it is real. So I want to use this opportunity to comment and appeal to the public to join hands to make sure that this pandemic is being reduced to the barest minimum.
Okay.
And to also the fleet operators, that is our transport, those in transport section, there is a survey going on for hygiene protocols regards to this COVID-19. So we've done the first set. Right now we are going to start analyzing and sending reports about them. And then too, the public education and sensitization, which is ongoing, I think it should be sustained, and also the public should the keke riders, the transporters, and even the general public should also help us in maintaining this social distancing.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Thank you. State Coordinator, National Human Rights Commission, Abia State, Barrister Uche Wokocha. Your reaction? And
While thanking Flo for the good work they are doing in enlightening the public and giving the people the opportunity to air their views, I would like to encourage Abians. Yes, a lot has happened, but you can see the police is working to clear off their mistakes, and other security agencies too, and we should encourage them. Let us not just be thinking about what happened in the past. Let us think about what the future will be like if we all work together, particularly as it concerns COVID-19. COVID-19 is still with us. Please be careful.
okay, Comrade Nelson Wafo, in a very few minutes.
Thank you so much for a very wonderful, robust discussion. A lot have been said, and I think it is time that all the security agencies, now that the government have bring down the lockdown, and there's a lot of things have been put in place, which will ensure that they begin to uphold and respect the right of the persons and the dignity, and also ensure that human rights are being protected.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. The platform will return same time tomorrow. And this program will also return same time tomorrow, a part 2 of the program. My name is Chioma Nkwanta. Enjoy the rest of your day.